I'm coming to face this intimidating team of historians and actors of history. I'm really delighted to be with you today. And it is really when I came here that I saw that on the program yes, I'm going to be the chairman, the chairman of the occasion. Of course, so there are many chairmen here today, and would you allow me to abide by the existing protocols, but to recognize at least just a few, and then to use that excellent Nigerian parlance, all protocols duly observed, so that one can continue. Otherwise, if I'm to go through the list again, I think we'll probably stay here beyond lunchtime. So may I say, the chairman of chairman today, General Burutai, and to hear your experience, was it you that an antelope, went across the? Well, delighted that you are able to even make it with all that jet lag. Well done, well done. Well, as I stand, may I also recognize, if I'm in the president, or the acting president of the Nigerian Historical Society, and may I also recognize Your Royal Highness, my Lordship, and may I also recognize all of you service chiefs, but there is one that is improperly dressed. Unless I see them in white, I don't recognize them as Navy. Come along. Well, so they is improperly dressed. But there will be no guard room for you, though. Excellent. And all of you eminent intellectuals, and really delighted to meet you all. So I'm, as I stand before you today, I'm filled with a deep sense of, of nostalgia, humility, and honor to serve as chairman at the launch of this important book, The Military Factor in Nigeria's Contemporary History. My life, like the story of our dear nation, has been intertwined with the journey of the Nigerian military and its profound impact on our country's destiny. From my earliest days as a young officer to the heavy burden of leadership during Nigeria's most turbulent years, I have witnessed firsthand how the military, for better or for worse, has shaped the very fabric of our national history. This book, The Military Factor in Nigeria's Contemporary History, invites us not just to recount events, but to reflect on the complex forces, political, economic, social, and economic that have defined our path in history. It is a story of unity preserved in the face of grave danger, of difficult decisions made under the weight of responsibility and of lessons learned from both, both triumph and failure and regret. Today, as we gather to celebrate this important work, I'm reminded that the military's role in Nigeria is not just a matter of history, but a living legacy one that continues to challenge us to seek balance between order and freedom, strength, and compassion, unity and diversity. My journey in the Nigerian military began in 1954 when I joined as a young inner cadet, and little did I know then that history would thrust upon me the enormous responsibility of leading our nation through its most turbulent period. I remembered the occasion when I sailed from Liverpool, UK, after a course at the Joint Services Staff College, and on board the ship, MV Apapa or Oriole, when a lot of people knew that I was a military officer, they were asking me a question: do you think a coup can take place in Nigeria? A coup can take place in Nigeria? Me, as adjutant, former adjutant general of the Nigerian Army, who tried to make sure that such a thing does not happen. Honestly, that question was asked by various people from West Africa, from UK, etc. And when we got to Accra, before we got to Accra, there were 3 coups in Central and West Africa. And in Accra, when that happened, after my denial that such a thing can never happen, there was one that happened very close to Nigeria. I think it must have been Upper Volta then, Burkina Faso today. So the Nigerian team that were asking me that question too said to me, now, what about this? So I said, well, it has happened. But all I said to them was that, well, if such a thing happens, let me be a philosopher. I said, if such a thing happens, I hope the few loyal ones of us will deal with the situation and return the status quo. That was what I said to them. And we arrived at Apapa the following day, and within 36 hours of my arrival, there was a coup in Nigeria where the Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and all the senior officers, especially so many of them, all of them, senior officers from my school, all of them were killed. And my goodness. And what have we to do? I was supposed to be, on vacation leave, disembarkation leave, but that was the morning that we had to do something with the general officer commanding to make sure that that coup did not succeed. So that was how really I came into this 36 hours after, yes, just to make sure that the promise that we made in the army to defend the nation and the territorial integrity of, of the nation. So there it is, after that various event that took place, and I found myself as head of state. So when I became head of state in 1966, Nigeria was a precarious crossroad, with the very fabric of our national unity threatened. This personal reflection, I believe, will resonate with many of you who have also experienced the trials and triumph of our nation's history. The years that followed tested our resolve as a nation. As someone who served as Nigeria's leader for 9 years, the longest period any military leader has held that position at a go. Because since then, actually what happened was that I had straight 8 years, that is the civilian 2 terms, and I think I was allowed a grace of another extra 1 year. And then the military itself, said, no, third time, certainly you will not have third time. And so third time has not been accepted in Nigeria. But the years that followed tested our resolve as a nation. As someone who served as Nigeria's leader for 9 years, the longest period any military leader has held that position, I have witnessed firsthand how the armed forces transformed from a purely security institution to a major political actor in our nation, in our national development. History is not merely a sequence of events. It is shaped by powerful forces, economic, cultural, political, religious, and indeed the military. When we speak of the military factor in Nigeria's history, we acknowledge the profound influence the armed forces have had on our nation's trajectory. From 1967 to 1979, and again from 1983 to 1999, military rule introduced centralized decision-making that often bypass democratic institutions. I recall the challenge we faced during my administration, particularly as we navigated the oil boom period. Well, if it told you that there is oil boom in the period, I can assure you we had to be very careful. In the first place, we made sure that we diverted the attention, from the rebel forces from destroying all the various facilities in the oil area, because we know that we will need them in the end. And at the end, of course, yes, we did have the benefit of the oil industry. But you can rest assured that whatever anyone says, I can assure you we did not fritter those facilities. No, at least I'm in charge. And of course, at one stage, I have an Ijebu man, that great man, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, as my finance minister. And you can rest assured that with the discipline that we impose on ourselves, you just cannot rally misuse any oil facilities. I think you would need to know that, what we even did loan to the IMF and the World Bank to help other developing countries, except with the proviso that when our development plan start getting to the stage whereby we've got to pay for those things, the World Bank and IMF will make sure that they give us back our money to pay for those things. But there was no any fritter, as far as I'm concerned. If anybody says that there was frittering, of resources, certainly not during my time. While we experienced significant economic expansion, I must acknowledge, with the benefit of hindsight, that we could have done better. Yes, we could have done better. But if we had been able to continue with the plan that we have, yes, our aim was towards industrialization, of Nigeria at the time. Now, people say that corruption took place during my time. My goodness, I just want to know what corruption. There was only one case that I remembered they were talking about, and that was J.S. Turka supposed to have done something which, we had to, put, people, we had to make sure that it is found out. And of course, it got to the stage whereby certainly nothing was found out. And at the end, all that I had to do was to ask J.S. Turka, I said, this thing that is happening, it is only political. And I think if we are going to give the government such a bad name, I think I would prefer and advise that I think he should just resign from the government, so that at least he can leave his chances when in a civilian government return, that at least he can be able to play his politics. But otherwise, now that was the only serious one that I know. The other one that I thought was really serious during my time was when I think we were doing the development plan, 74 or 75-80 development plan. And we were trying to get cement from all over the world, and we couldn't get any. America, UK, even Eastern European countries, Bulgaria, and such places. And honestly, we couldn't get we couldn't get any cement. The one in Bulgaria and Turkey had been already bought out by President Gaddafi, by Gaddafi, for the development that he was doing in his country. And honestly, there was no cement anywhere. But all of a sudden, we started seeing ships coming to Lagos port and filling up the whole place. And it was said that it was, with cement. And, and honestly, it was such a bad situation that all that one had to do was to say, and I was going for an OAU meeting, so I had to tell the Navy that if these ships do not clear the area, when I come back, I'm going to give the Navy the authority to sink any ship there that is not given authority to dock at Lagos. And how did that happen? there was a glut of shipping throughout the world at that time. And I think between some either officials and the shipping movement or the business people who are making all this order, they were making arrangements to just bring in ships. It may be empty, or they may be only having a few bags of cement, of sand. And they are, bringing it to Nigeria. But honestly, as far as I was concerned, there was no cement available. Because at that time, if all that cement came, every ounce of cement would have been useful with the plan that we have for the country at the time. And well, the people who want to give us a bad name said that yes, that it is cement. And if those cement were dumped by our ports, etc., I wonder how many ships would have been able to come into our harbor. But however, I have to live with that this cement, so-called cement armada, and my government was blamed. And unfortunately, I could not come back to be able to do what I had wanted to do, to clear the place. But however, that was what it was. But I want to assure you, if there was any corruption, probably that might be the area where there is corruption, but not by members of my government. Now, perhaps the most defining moment in my career and in our nation's history was the Civil War. For 30 months, Nigerians fought Nigerians. Certainly, that was not our wish. Brothers fought brothers. It was the most painful episode in our history, but one that ultimately reaffirmed our commitment to national unity. And when my name was called Gowon as Go On With One Nigeria, it was not me who invented that acronym. I read it in the pages of newspaper just like anyone else that day. And it made a profound meaning to me. So I said, so that is what my name means. And so I said, well, if that's the case, I pray to God that I will do my best to ensure that Nigeria is kept one. So, and honestly, it was one of the things that really propelled me after that I've got no choice but just to do that, no matter whatever the problem. And God willing, yes, certain things happened. It is not my doing. And so all sort of either mistakes were made, etc. And of course, it helped me to continue to make sure that, yes, we were able to keep the country together. So when the war ended on January the 12th, 1970, yes, I remembered that remark that I made. I can assure you it was instantaneous, because that is what we wanted. We did not want to have any war fighting one another. You can rest assured that we never called the other side their enemy. I think the worst name that I could give at that time was to call them rebels. But certainly we were called the enemy. I was called the enemy, And what sort of name was I not called? I don't know whether any of you remember Coco and Dem. Does any of you remember Coco and Dem during the Civil War? Yeah? Broadcaster. Wasn't he good? Wasn't he good? His intonation, etc., was fantastic. And he can convince the devil. And I can show you, he did certainly convince the foreign press, BBC, Voice of America, you know, the French, Francais, is it, what is it? Radio France. Yes, and then you will hear them give a report that Nigeria claims, but Biafra says. So anything that we say, it is just a claim. But anything that was said from Biafra, yes, it was that was correct. But when the war ended in January the 12th, yes, I remember that statement that came instantaneously. No victor, giving orders to the troops on the ground. Hold on your fire. Stop fighting. Help those that you're fighting. And the statement was made, no victor, no vanquish. Not that, yes, I may say so, but I can assure you a lot of other people certainly didn't believe, believe that or didn't want that to happen. But it is part of the reason to be able to win the reconciliation that should be able to help us bind our wounds and build a better country for the future. So this wasn't merely a political statement. It was a deeply held conviction that, that to heal our nation, we needed reconciliation rather than retribution. As I said in that interview, marking the 50th anniversary of the Civil War end, I thank God for the peace we have enjoyed over the last 50 years since the war ended. I will not say I committed a crime by going into war. It was out of our love for the unity of Nigeria. Well, the question of whether the military has been a hero or villain in Nigeria's development journey is perhaps the most contested. With the wisdom that comes from from age and reflection, I believe the answer has somewhere in between. On one hand, the military preserved national unity during the Civil War. We built infrastructure. We built infrastructure in states to bring government closer to the people, and at times restored established themselves in peacekeeping operations across Africa and beyond. On the other hand, I must acknowledge that military rule stifled democratic development. But our action in government was very democratic. I think the only major fault is that we did not allow the politicians to be able to play their role. But you can rest assured that various individuals are called in to help in trying to put things right in the country. It is only the participation the political participation of politicians that was probably stifled. But always, even during my time, yes, I mean, we were hoping that we'll be able to restore democracy as soon as possible. But because of certain things happening, yes, on certain occasions, we were not able to to do so. For example, I was asked, why did I renege, what the press will call, why did I renege in returning the country to civilian rule in '76? And I changed that in '74. I think probably what people may not know was that I think before the whistle was given for the political activity to start, yes, I think we started having the sort of things that happened before the first, before the first coup that took place in Nigeria. A lot of the politicians, they started haranguing each other and doing things or making things that, to me, threaten the unity of the country, and that if we allow that sort of thing to continue, I think we may not be able to, we may be having the same the problem that brought the military to have the first coup because of the political wrangling and infighting at the time. So I decided that I think the best thing that we should do is to really try and see if we can put the economy right, and so did the plan, to ensure that we plan, for an expansive economy, and that if the economy goes well, yes, after that you can then allow the the politicians to come, knowing that in the future, if they want to really make it, they've got to make sure that the economy is doing well. So that was the reason for the change, and that was the reason why the development plan 74-75 that was laid. You can get hold of the book, and you should see, you should know what it is. Yes, certainly would have taken Nigeria beyond what it is. The only unfortunate thing was that the government that took over certainly did not carry out that particular development plan. And of course, we know what happened when most of the public servants were dismissed after my government was overthrown, were dismissed. Those who really keep the government work going, they were all dismissed, etc., from judges or from your even Chief Justice to a very loyal civil servant who was staying in his in the office over time, and his wife ringing him to tell him, "What are you doing? You've been dismissed," and him telling her, "What do you mean? That is not that's not so." Until he was able to find out later. So I think let us say this, that yes, it was not my fault. That things did not continue to do well. I'm sure it would have been even much greater. However, that is history. So on the other hand, I must acknowledge that Military rule stifled democratic development, all right. Sometimes violated civil liberties, yes. And created structures that enable corruption. Well, certainly we all fight corruption. I can tell you there is no leader that will not do anything to fight corruption. Yes, certainly we did our best to make sure that corruption is curtailed. So the interruption of our journey in 1966 and 1983, and the painful, and the painful annulment of the June 12, 1993 elections represent dark chapters in our history that we must confront honestly. And I must say something about the 1983 intervention. And I think at least the 1983 intervention, it was supposed to be Dimka's coup that cost the life of my successor, General Murtala Mohammed. And of course, it was I was maligned by the government of the day that I have, well, they said, in fact, they have incontrovertible evidence that I was, in fact, I was behind it. And what happened? I was dismissed. I was dismissed. And of course, charged for treason. My goodness. To me, is the greatest insult that could have been done to me, by, in fact, that government. The people that, young people that I believe and, I love, trusted, and helped me to ensure that we keep Nigeria together, and to say that I, who dealt with the problem of 1966, to say that I will be the one that will be, in fact, will felt, that one, that could organize the killing of my successor. After, when I was flying from Kampala to Lome, I sent them a message, sent the government a message. Please, this is where I'm going, and please, you can trust that you will have no problem from me. I give you my word of honor as an officer and a gentleman, and as a Christian. And honestly, that was how I lived. Whatever, to think, of doing any harm. And part of the reason why I accepted what had happened to me when I was in Kampala, yes, to think that if I want to come back, yes, I can come back, and to fight with all the young people that we fought together to keep the country united. Now it is something that honestly, I cannot, I cannot, believe. But that happened, and that stigma. Yes, I was prepared when they said that I should come back to answer. I was prepared to come back. I was prepared to come back. To clear my own personal name, the name of my family, and also the post that I held in the country. That, in fact, there would be no head of state should, come as low as to say he would do something to eliminate his, his successor. Well, however, that was it. So, I've made reference to this particular point because they said, yes, I was dismissed, And when Shagari came into power in '83, yes, I applied, I wrote, and of course he wanted political activity, and I think I wanted Ojukwu to be, to be pardoned, and so he rang me, and and said this is what they wanted to do, and they want to sort of pardon me too. So of course I said, pardon me? Certainly not. I'm not going to accept any pardon. No, because I know I haven't done anything to ask for pardon. Yes, I know in the UK you can get Queen's pardon. You can get Queen's pardon. But yes, that is quite all right. I said yes, but in Nigeria, once you are pardoned, you just said that you are pardoned, everyone will think that yes, you are guilty. That is why, you are pardoned. So I refused. I said no. But I said yes, you can pardon Ojukwu because yes, we charge Ojukwu of treason for fighting against Nigeria. Yes. So I said okay. Well, that should be quite all right. I told President Shagari that, and he can do that if it will help his political campaign. So that was what what happened, and so President Shagari, they had to find a way, because I said I'm not expecting pardon. But when later on it said the case against me was rescinded. So I said, yes, I will accept the case being rescinded, which means removed totally, obliterated, etc. So I accepted that one. But I think the press, sometimes they continue to say that, yes, I was pardoned. No, I was not pardoned. That case was rescinded. And that was one aspect. And of course, later on, Babangida, restored my rank and facilities since then. So there it is. So you see, I've been through all sorts of things. I've been demoted and restored as a general. Yes. So, and the painful annulment, of course, of June 12th election represented dark chapters in our history that we must confront honestly. So the reason why, I had to make this particular point, I said, might be in the book, this question of 1983. Yes, that was a dastardly thing. It is not something that I've been fighting against, and therefore, for me to be associated with it, this is something which, I want. If there is any reference to that book there, then I hope, you will look at it carefully and put it right. Now, I see that you are comparing notes. I said that I see that you are comparing notes. Don't you worry. I'm told, well, my time was up. Not very true. But honestly, it is something that I thought this particular team need to know and to put right, because it hurts. But at least my honesty and integrity is intact. Well, during my administration, we positioned Nigeria as a leader in the African affairs. We played significant roles in the liberation struggles in Southern Africa, and also East Africa, and establish Nigeria as a respected voice in the international diplomacy. However, I recognize that the internal challenges of military governance sometimes undermines our credibility on the global stage. So the future military role in the next half a century, looking ahead to the next 50 years, what role should our military play in Nigeria's continued development with the benefit of hindsight and the wisdom of age? I offer these thoughts. First, the era of military government is and must remain behind us. Yes. And I know that, at least I know the military, I've heard from the Chief of Defense Staff, Musa, and all other senior officers in the army today, swearing, making sure that such a thing like military takeover will never happen again. Please keep to that. Please keep to that for the sake of the country. I believe in democracy too. I believe, and I try to run my government in a democratic way, even though it is done by the military. So despite democracy, despite its imperfection, provides the best framework for national development and popular participation. Even though I think Nigeria seems to be saying that there should be some, is it native type of democracy? So I don't know what sort of democracy that will be. So we've got to be very careful. We've got to accept democracy as it is. But you can never have absolute perfect democracy. Yes, somewhere there would be something that probably the situation will make you to just slightly alter, but you will keep the form of democracy as it is, because all other systems have been tried. Yes, as they say, is the worst. It is said it is the worst democracy, but it is the system that seems to at least give every political situation a chance to survive. So secondly, Nigeria's security challenges today fundamentally differs from those we confronted in my time. Terrorism, banditry, cyber crimes, and transnational criminal networks demand a military that is technologically sophisticated and intelligence-driven. And this is why I said I can assure you, I wouldn't be able to fit in your system today, because I always say that I am BBC, born before computer. But today, you are all computer literate, and this is the way you find things. So yes, I think that is the way it should go. In any case, you wouldn't be able to employ me, you wouldn't be able to get me to the front because you think I wouldn't be able to move fast enough to do what you want to do. So that's quite all right. But all of you and future generation, yes, you've got to be technologically literate. So I am heartened to hear that the current Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, and also the Chief of Defense Staff and all the service chiefs. They are prioritizing investment in modern technology and specialized training to confront these evolving threats. Mr. Chairman, this is what you started to do, and this is what has brought about this scheme, and where we are now utilizing. Well done. Now, thirdly, our armed forces must become more integrated with civilian institutions and society. The military should not stand apart from the people, but should be seen as an essential component of our national fabric, working in tandem with civilian authorities. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this has always been my instruction. For example, my instruction to the troops before the war: remember, you are fighting your brothers, you are not fighting an enemy. So for God's sake, there was a code of conduct that was given to the troops to ensure that they treat the civil population as well. And at the end of the Civil War, my instruction was, now a moment ago, you are fighting your brothers and sisters. Now I want you to become soldiers of peace, to ensure that you encourage them to feel that, yes, they are welcome back, etc. And this has been the standard all the time. Well, as far as, let me say, during my time. And I'm sure this is also what has been the case during the Chief of Staff, during succeeding military leadership that we have in the country. Now, the fourth is that Nigerian military must continue to play a vital role in regional security while strengthening our nation's defense capabilities. Our expert experiences in peacekeeping operations have enhanced our international standing and contributed to stability across West Africa. Finally, the military must continue to evolve as a professional institution committed to the highest standard of discipline, competence, and patriotism. The future security architecture of Nigeria will demand armed forces that are lean, agile, technologically advanced, and deeply committed to their constitutional role. So this book we are launching today contributes to a necessary conversation about the role of the military in shaping modern Nigeria. It challenges us to think critically about how much of Nigeria's current state is a product of military intervention and what lessons we can draw for future democratic consolidation. So let me applaud the Historical Society of Nigeria for midwifing this very important publication. As we celebrate the book and the 70th anniversary of the Society, Let us remember that understanding our past is essential to forging a better future. The military factor in Nigeria's history is neither a simple story of heroism nor villainy, but a complex narrative of an institution that has been deeply intertwined with our national journey. I task General C. Musa, Christopher Musa, and the Chief of Defense Staff, the service chiefs, and all of you top military brasses that have come to this occasion to personally read the book from cover to cover and inspired by the rich history. Let me thank the chairman of the Coordinating Council of the Historical Society of Nigeria at 70 celebrations, His Excellency General, His Excellency, but he, first of all, remember he is a general, a good general. GCON for providing the leadership that has put this event and subsequent ones together. To other eminent personalities that will be playing key roles at today's event, I welcome you all very dearly and thank you for coming and making the occasion the grand occasion. In my twilight years, yes, I suppose you got the ticket in the, is what they call it, the waiting hall, isn't it? Yes, my prayer for Nigeria remains the same as it was when I was a young officer, that we continue to go on with one Nigeria. And may this book inspire dialogue, deeper inquiry, and ultimately a stronger, more democratic, and more prosperous Nigeria, where the military serves the people with distinction, honor, and unwavering commitment to our constitutional role and order. Thank you all, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.